Welcome to Title Talk with your host, Drew Wishover, entrepreneur, a published author, and owner of Inspired Title Group, along with his co-host and CEO, Amy Maley. Each week, they offer you some laughs, industry terminology, tips and strategies, along with the occasional real estate professional to help educate you as it pertains to buying, selling, or just plain old homeownership. Thanks for spending time with them. Now, let's jump into today's episode of Title Talk.
Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Friday. We are not doing Title Talk today.
We're not.
We are doing something different, and we have a special, a special new addition to the program that we're doing. So you are joining me. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, I gotta. You are joining us for our first edition of the Inspired Truth, where we are going to talk about a development company, Inspired Development. So we are going to walk you guys through kind of what we're working on, some of the stuff that we see, and you're gonna love this ride. It's gonna be awesome. So my name is Amy. I'm the president, and with me I have Ryan.
I'm the project manager here for Inspired Development.
And my name is Drew. I have no idea what I do.
And I don't really know why you're here.
Yeah.
He's just here to show up everywhere.
He's here to fill in a hole.
Yeah, right. We had a really blank spot
Yeah.
that we needed something happening.
Yeah, we wanted to balance out the set. Right?
So if you see behind us, there's some pictures that will be constantly moving throughout the entire program. That's just going to show you a little bit of what we do. And we're going to take this opportunity today, give you a little bit of an introduction to our company and what we're doing.
Absolutely. No, that's good. So as Amy said, Inspired Development is something that I started a few years ago, back when we were doing, obviously, as you know or may not know, there's actually a whole Inspired family here. We have Inspired Title, which is the title company. We do a show every Thursday, which is called Title Talk. And then we have now...
Your voice changed when you said that.
See?
It's like you can't say it.
I wanted to make sure I didn't do it,
You got it.
in our voice way.
Title
and
Talk.
And then we have, what we wanted to do is usually when we're out on our job sites, Amy does a Facebook Live from there. And we kind of talked a little bit more and said, I think that there are things that we can share, and there's a need probably to talk a little bit more about the truth and what's going on in the industry. People watch Flip and Flop, and they see all this money being made, and they see all this these great opportunities in the building world. Well, we're here to tell you that it's not always that way, and there are some different things that we're hoping to, throughout our future programs, talk to you guys about. As Amy mentioned, the screen behind us is scrolling through a lot of our different projects and a lot of the different things that we've done over the past bit. And we've got new construction we're doing. We do rehabs. We do remodeling. There's just a myriad of things that we do as a company. One of the things that I think would be beneficial to talk about is kind of the inception of how Inspired Development was birthed, and then into more about the projects we're doing and some of the things that we're doing in the future.
And we still will do our Friday Fun Days on site.
Oh, for sure.
This is just kind of, to spread in there while we're not being obnoxious on work sites.
Yeah, not doing the site visits or anything.
Yeah, we'll still, kind of check in with you guys because that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there aren't things going on at these sites. It's more that it's 45 degrees on a Friday of the holiday weekend, and the last thing we want to do is be out on the roads or in a house. But I guess one piece of great news is we're closing on a house as we speak.
We are. Right now it's happening. It's so cool.
As we sit here today and talk about these things with you today, one of our Baywood houses that you've seen that Amy has taken us on a tour through is actually closing today. And I think that is something that we're super proud of. The transformation of that house has been incredible.
Yeah, we're hoping to work on something for you guys to see it next week is our plan, so you can actually see a video of befores and afters and side-by-sides of this house that completely transformed. Because we always say when I'm walking through these houses and I tell you guys the stairs used to be here and this dormer is new, but if we're saying that, you can't really see what it used to look like. So, when Drew started talking about the idea yesterday, just kidding, 2 days ago of doing this show, his thought kind of, sorry if I'm speaking for you, his thought kind of was, though, this way people could actually see the befores and afters without just like trying to recall back 4 months ago what the house looked like. So we're kind of going to take that as an opportunity to hopefully show you what this house, the final product, looked like.
Yeah, I mean, taking you on a tour through the house is we've done in the past is really great because you can see what it looks like now. But if you're not following every week, or if you've missed an episode or two, all of a sudden you start to not be able to recognize the house. So we forgot to mention our great producer, Brittany,
Yes.
who is really in charge of putting together this fabulous backdrop. We will talk with her a little bit, like we said, during the week, and get together the before and afters of this Maywood project that we did. And you can see that when we take on a project, we really take it on. It's not like we're just going to go ahead and slap some paint on it and
paint the
hope,
paneling and
Yeah.
hope for
Get
the
in,
best.
get out. No, it's not like that.
No, I mean we did a tremendous major overhaul to this house.
This
I mean,
one was one of the biggest ones I think that I've
with
witnessed.
the exception of the firehouse.
The firehouse was for sure number
Yeah,
one.
that was the biggest.
Yeah,
And-
that was
and,
huge.
I mean, we took a house that was damaged
There would be
by
another
fire.
cool
Yeah,
one
the
that
transformation
we-
from that. I
oh
mean,
my God.
we built
night
an
and day.
entirely different house. They made us keep a couple exterior walls, but we built the entire house from gutting it out to keeping the front wall, back wall, and everything else was brand new.
That brick that we had to redo. To,
The fireplace.
Yeah, the
I mean,
fireplace brick.
Incredible.
That
But
house was nuts. Yeah, it was.
long project too.
It was. Yeah, the grill. The grill started a fire to the back of the house,
Yep.
and that fire spread like through the entire part of the entire
Yeah.
house, and
Yeah.
it was down to studs. It was
Right.
crazy.
Right. Ryan, what would you say has been maybe the most fun and interesting part that you've experienced through this Maywood transformation, at least?
The look of it when we first stepped foot on there at this Maywood property the very first time, I mean, you could barely see the house. I mean, it had trees growing all over it. We're like, where is this house? You pull up to it, you're like, where, and then you walk in there and it's just, it needs some love. And going in there and being able to point out like, oh, we can do this here, that here, let's add this and do that. Just looking at the house and looking and saying, hey, this is what it can become. And then we added the dormer on top of it, which, I mean, that's another huge piece in itself that you're like, oh my God. I mean, it's a whole upstairs I think that's the best part. I mean, just seeing that transformation of the dormer itself.
Yes.
I mean,
I love the back porch. What we did. There's actually like a double. It's like a 2-part back porch. There's a deck out from the sliding door in the breakfast nook, and then there's like an entirely different section off of the dining room that's all like car sided and stuff. And it's one of those things where you look at it because originally that was part of the house.
it was.
That was used. There was like a TV in there when we first walked in there.
It's part of the master bedroom.
Yeah, it was part of the
bedroom,
master.
Yeah, so the master bedroom was on the first floor. But like I said, let's leave them a little bit because we'll be able to really show some before
sure.
and after and talk about this. And I think to define a little bit more of who we are and what we do. Again, I'm the owner and Amy's the president of the company. Ryan's project manager. We've got a whole team of contractors that do all these projects with us. So really, how that all started is having Amy in the title company and me being the owner of the title company, doing watching a lot of these flips happen because of the market getting crushed. We're watching foreclosures and we're watching all these different things happen. And then it came to just light that said, wait a minute, I have a background in this. I know this stuff.
You
Why
grew
don't
up doing
we-
this.
Yeah, why don't we start doing this? This is dumb. So we seriously started taking on projects of our own and doing these, and it has just morphed into what it is now, where we're doing, I don't know, 5 to 10 rehabs a year, along with building brand new houses. We've got some projects in the city of Chicago where we own a lot of homes that we're going to be remodeling in some really fun areas that we're hoping to not gentrify and bring back.
Yep.
We're developing in Indiana. We have a subdivision that we're creating in Indiana. I mean, this
There's a lot.
this
There's a
literally
lot
all
going
started
on.
from
Yeah.
kind of like me going to Brittany 2 days ago. Hey, say let's do a development talk too. I mean, this is
I
just,
wish I had a picture of Brittany's face when that
it was
happened.
awesome. But she's starting to learn that
want
what?
what?
As soon as Drew comes walking down the
Sure.
aisle, she kind of turns.
She
her
does
chair.
this.
She's like, I don't
Yeah.
want to hear it. I don't want to know. But this is how some of these ideas are created, and Amy has a role in the prospecting some of the properties, and then
The
not only
design is what I
design
love.
some fun stuff,
Yeah.
and taking something out of there and giving it back.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, like, this just started, but the house, again, that we keep going back to, that it's closing today, there were stained glass windows in this house. And we took, had them take them out, but Amy's like, keep those.
Yeah, we had to
Go
take
ahead,
them
tell
out.
the story, yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't up to code anymore. So obviously they were like, you got to get rid of windows, you got to replace them, and I was like, no, it's part of the
beautiful
beautiful
stained glass
part
windows.
of this house. So I had to keep telling our contractors every time we went there, I was like, don't break these, whatever you do, keep these windows intact when you take them out. So they did. They popped them out with a frame around them, and I was able to salvage them. And now we're giving them to the homeowners today as a little keepsake of what the house used to be. And
So
I think
great.
that's become one of my favorite parts of these projects. It's finding, and we're not completely changing these houses. We are completely redoing these houses and trying to keep as much character alive as the houses initially had. And I think that's a huge important thing, because sometimes is it easier to just get rid of everything and make it modern, and
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not always the best way of doing it. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about this job and what we do.
That's well said, because
And-
a lot of people go in there and they want to make it modern, or they try to change it to a specific audience and attract a specific buyer. And we're aware of our market. We're aware of where we're at. And we're just trying to, make it a nicer home and get these people back in there. Not looking for top dollar, making a couple bucks, but that's a prime example of this house too. We had multiple offers on this thing, and the story that how we chose our buyer, I think there were 3 or 4 offers, and when they were presented, I said, I really wanted to go to these folks, and it was definitely one of the lesser offers. But this single mom of 4, this was her 4th or 5th house that she got outbid on because of the marketplace like it is. They're bidding everything up, and she kept losing these opportunities. And I said, no, not on our house. I will take less of an offer because I want this opportunity for this lady.
Yeah,
That's the inspired way.
it is.
That's the truth of what we do. And that's unheard of. I'm not saying there's not good people out there. I'm not saying that we're the best at everything we do. I'm saying that we care about our people.
Oh, yeah.
And we care, Amy's giving something back to them at the closing, and, restored something that was already existing in the home. And we didn't go for the biggest dollar and the highest price offer. We went to the client that we felt needed this the most. And that's important. And that's kind of what we do.
It's a huge part of what we do.
Yeah. And we're
Ryan, are you awake still?
we're doing this, we're
I'm
doing
around.
this partner project in the city of Chicago
Yes.
with the Black Coalition for Housing. We have a partnership with a company called CRC that I'm working with very closely, where we're doing several homes throughout the inner city, and just taking those homes and cleaning them up and turning them back over.
Yes.
And helping these folks get credit counseling, and just selling the house at an affordable rate so these people can just they're not losing the neighborhood. And that is so, again, it's important to what we do. It's kind of the theme behind what we're doing. And I
Absolutely.
think that was the way that I had this in my mind and my vision for what this was. And thankfully, I've been fortunate with both Ryan and Amy to kind of buy into that and see that and go,
And support that,
this
yeah.
is fun.
Yeah.
This is fun. And
Game on.
we're literally Ryan sees these contractors day in, day out, and he's talking to them with that hey, we're just trying to do some good things. Let's not, let's just get this done.
Yeah.
It's, the industry is enough yelling and screaming.
No,
right?
it's not. It's not
about
all
that.
about that. That's not why.
Once in a while.
Yeah, but then that's not why I want to go out there. I want to see progress, and seeing progress means it's that much closer to being done at the same time.
Right.
So, getting on these contractors, making sure that they're doing what they're doing is very important, because I can go there and say, why is this wall put up there? And we're like, what? I guess no, we didn't say that at all. It's not on the prints.
Right.
And if you catch that early enough, that's fantastic. But it's important to be out there because you catch those things. And if you don't, it could be too late. Then there's gonna be, who knows what happens after that. So
No, we're definitely gonna be open to, as we start this show and start to kind of do this thing on a weekly basis. We're going to open this thing up for you guys to ask questions about the building industry. We're going to talk about different titles and terms and issues that we
Right.
kind of come in touch with, right?
Yep.
And I think that really just educating the public about what's going on in the business, in the industry, because, you know, I'm sure everybody knows that lumber costs are up. I'm sure everybody knows that the home market is on fire.
Yep.
But in reality, do they know what that means? Do they know
Right.
how
The
that
backstory
really
of that.
translates to what they're,
For
how does it
sure.
affect them,
For sure.
right? And we're living it every day.
Every day.
And when we talk about the truth in our title, as the title of the show being The Inspired Truth, reality is everything that you see and hear on TV is just, and they have to do this because otherwise it who's going to watch a show that ends poorly, right?
It's not gonna be a 5-star rating.
Exactly. I mean, you want it all to be, great and end well, but I mean, inspections and the process of that, and general contractors being not reliable or on time, timelines being missed, the
Timeline,
expenses, I mean, going over budget on stuff, and really, that's all things that the three of us really sit down ahead of time and hammer out.
Right.
And Ryan is been kind of given marching orders as to, hey, here's our timeline, here's where we're at, this is where we want to be, and it's his responsibility to deliver on that. Amy goes out every Friday. We all go out as a team on Fridays to try to just follow the progress. And there are often times that we just all look at each other on that Friday morning and go, there's no reason to go because there's been no progress, which is embarrassing. It's frustrating, but it's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. And to sit back here and say that, wow,
It's all flowers and roses and
Yeah.
sunshine,
Right.
and every
All
project
right.
is perfect.
I mean,
We'd be lying to you.
seriously, Amy, talk about your experience
want
and
to-
just, when you first were presented this opportunity and this idea, I'm sure you had a very open mind and were like, well, this sounds great and it seems
Oh, yeah.
simple, right?
Oh yeah,
What'd you come to find?
it's not either of those things. So I'm a really organized, timeline, detail-oriented person. Like, that's how my brain works. So when Drew was talking about what it meant to have these timelines and schedule out how long rough-in takes and how long inspections take and all that stuff, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. So they get 3 weeks for this, 4 weeks for this, 2 weeks for that, and then this house will be on the market in 13 weeks. 13 weeks later, we have another 7 weeks to go because of stuff like either stuff that you find when you get behind the walls that you didn't expect. And I feel like every project we've done, there's been some kind of obstacle that has to get overcome. And I feel like that's not in the reality of what HGTV shows. As much as I love those shows,
No, for
I
sure.
love a good Love It or Listed or
Yeah.
The Rehab Addict. I love all those shows, but like none of them actually go into detail about what the everyday of this is. And I think that's what we're trying to do out here. That's what we're trying to give you
Yeah.
guys the
Reality.
reality.
I agree. And, Ryan, you speak to that as well. I mean, you're new to the business as well. We brought you in as a project manager, and you truly saw what I did and what we did as a company, but until you got into it, you didn't know the inner workings of it all. And I think a very short time ago, you said, why does it have to be this difficult?
And do you remember when he did this? Because I went through this like a
Exactly.
year before you did.
And I smiled each time.
And I started
Yes.
smiling when I saw him doing this. I'm like,
Yes.
I remember the day that I almost lost it.
Right.
And I was like, why is it so hard? I don't get it. Why can't you just do it? And
It's
then
so
he did
frustrating.
it a year
Yeah.
after I did, and I was like,
Yeah,
that's what I
it's
looked like a
headache,
year
'cause
ago.
I'm used to being on the opposite side of that. I'm used to my background was from restoration work, so I would just go in there, demo out everything, like, all right, guys, we're out of here. Basically, you guys are the guys that come in now and do
Put it
the
back.
So I'm on the flip side now of, okay, so this is the putback. Why is this such a pain? Well, now I'm foreseeing all these pains and all these little things here, little things there, and it's just like, why? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm glad I'm learning. I'm learning everything that I can, and I'm happy to be learning all this and to understand everything. Because if I didn't, well then you know then why am I here?
Absolutely.
You know, but
Absolutely. And I mean, here's a prime example. We're live on TV here, our show here, and there's that closing that we're talking about. And Amy had to get pulled away as the president to answer some questions or maybe deal with an issue that transpired during the either closing process or they do a final walkthrough and they see things and they say, hey, how can we address this or what can we do? And again, we're gonna meet the needs of the people. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, right? Is we're trying to meet the needs of that end buyer.
Yes.
Whether we're building a new house or whether we're rehabbing an old house.
no, anything that they're asking us, I mean, it's never too much or anything like that to ask. You know, as long as we can get it done in that time or
Yeah.
what they want,
Yeah.
then yeah, absolutely we can make it happen. But you know, at the end of the day, we're just trying to make those home buyers as happy as they can be.
Right, and that's, you know, I think it may be a stretch to say that everything should be done within this perfect timeline. Okay,
Big
and
stretch.
I think you're setting yourself up to fail because especially with rehab, you don't know what's behind the walls. You don't know what you may run into. With new construction, it's a lot more predictable because it's from ground up.
Yep.
What gets in the way of new construction deadlines is things kind of out of our control. A pandemic.
Yep.
I mean, right?
Can't do nothing about that.
Lumber costs going through the roof and things not being available.
And with the lumber costs, you know, that's a moving target part.
Sure.
In a sense.
Sure.
For right now, at least.
Yeah.
And you know, contractors and people, you know, if they don't understand, they have to understand that you know, there may have to be a little extra.
Speaking of remodeling, look at that little remodeling.
Making
here.
a mess here.
Speaking of mess,
Yeah, got plenty
there's a
of
new book. Maybe you guys should get it. It's called The 2 Hour Difference, written by
Yours
truly. Thank you very much. Wow, I got a crazy little plug in there, but hey, thanks for the
Look
spill
at that.
that allowed me a
That was
plug.
nice, yeah.
But that's good too because we can quote you a ballpark timeline on things. However, understanding and being flexible, knowing that things are going to happen. However, in the remodel industry, we're remodeling it and then we're going to turn around and sell it. So
Right.
our timeline is really our own.
It is,
right.
yeah.
We're not really being held to anybody else's time. New construction, in some instances,
Yep.
it's our own. But like today, we have an interested party in a brand new construction project, and if it wasn't the first question, it's the second. How much does it cost, and how long will it take?
Yep.
Okay, so we answer the cost question. Then how long is it going to take? You give them that window 6 to 8 months. We've not missed that. That's not been the issue.
been consistent.
What's been, what becomes the issue is when they make changes, alterations. That could make some waves. So when a home buyer comes in and says, hey, you know what, I want to do this now, well, it's already been mostly done, now they got to start all over, and that pushes things backwards.
Right.
So that happens, but it's not the norm.
It's not, and if they want that, they have to understand that you know it may take another week, another 2 weeks, depending on what they ask and what they need, and if it's been done or not done. So
Right. Right.
that's and that's the relationship we like to build with the homeowner as well, saying, hey, we've been great up until now. Let's continue doing business together. But just so you know, 2 more weeks because of these add-ons. If we're going to try our best to get it done beforehand, and that's and that's just reality of what that is too.
And I think as you guys look at the pictures that are kind of scrolling through and all the I mean, I kind of laugh at the pictures because who's going to show you a bad picture of what they've done, right? Nobody's going to go, hey, look at our remodel project, and it looks awful. So I really encourage you guys, if you are looking for somebody to remodel, go see it yourself. Go to a project that somebody's doing live. If they're showing you pictures, they're not going to show you bad pictures. If they're showing you a video, it's not going to be a bad video. And I can use this as an example really well that our producer Brittany is in the new home buying market. We like to welcome Amy back.
So sorry, guys.
No, hey, we were just telling you that this is a reality. Here we are at a closing, and you had to step out to
I'll
answer
probably
some
have to
questions
run.
and things.
Yeah, I'll probably have to run one more time.
Yeah,
But
that's okay.
Back
That's
for now.
okay. So Brittany was looking at pictures of a home she was about to buy, and then they went out to see it. And when she saw that rest of the house, yeah, they showed a couple pictures, but the rest of the house was a disaster. So I tell you that the pictures that you're seeing, yes, we did all those. This is all stuff that we've done. However, that's not where we would stop. We wouldn't just show you guys pictures and say, hey, this is what we do. we would invite you to a project we're doing or a project we've done that we can get you into, because now you can see live what's happened. And then you can see up close and personal, oh wow, that wall is a wave, or that wall's on a diagonal, or that door doesn't close because the wall's, all kinds of ridiculousness. I'll be truthful, since this is a truthful show.
Oh boy, wait.
Remember the house we went to that we redid in Melrose Park? We walked through before the final walkthrough with the buyer. I opened up the kitchen cabinet door, and it hit the
It
soffit.
smacked into the
The soffit. And I looked at the contractor and I went, "At what point did you think this was okay?" And he went, I said, "You can't get to the cabinet because when it opens, it hits the soffit." Like, that was horrible. And
that was because that beam was an addition, like it was
An
addition,
add-on
an
after
add-on
the-
to our initial plans. So instead of the contractors reworking the cabinetry at that point, it was just like,
right. So
Okay.
this was PR. This was pre-Ryan.
this
Or
was
BR, before Ryan.
Yeah.
BC before.
VR, yeah.
VR
Yeah.
before Ryan. So had the project manager been out there, he could have foreseen this going, wait, you're going to put no, that's not going to work. And I mean, this is where my years of experience comes into.
I will never
We
forget your
walk
face.
these houses, and I walk them through various stages of the project as I'm teaching Ryan, also teaching Amy to what, as to things to look for. So my meticulous eye goes to some of the ridiculous details, but yet it's our name that's on it. We don't want somebody to look at our project and go, oh, example, how many times have you had a hardwood floor redone? And you've had to like connect to two rooms and you re-hardwooded this one. So instead of interlocking or feathering them in, they just run a perfect seam where they butt.
Oh, like with that vent.
Yeah.
Freaking vent.
Huge pet peeve of mine. My eye will always go to the floor and go, that's all brand new. Well, how do you know? Because there's a perfect line where it ended
Yep.
and the new one starts.
Yep.
So now Ryan looks for that. Amy looks for that.
Yep.
And Amy's become a stickler because on 2 houses ago, she literally called the contractor up and go, you're not leaving it that way. That's not okay.
I was so ticked off when I saw
But
that.
if your eye goes to it, so does a buyer.
And if my name is on that, then I'm not going to let it
Right.
be done that way.
No.
No, sorry. I
And-
was just-
and that's good. No, it's truth.
Yeah, it is.
That's what we're trying to teach is, I point out some things that I see, and then all of a sudden you guys go, oh, yes. And it evolves.
And I think the crazy thing is our eyes each go towards something different. So like when I do one of the final walkthroughs, when I'm a paint carpet kind of stare at everything. So I'll just be like, paint here, need to get that fixed. Why is the front door like that? Look
Right.
at the seams of the carpet. Like it's just amazing what your eyeballs start to see the more they see this happening.
Yeah.
It's stuff that like I never thought of before.
And everybody has a level of like what bothers them when they see something.
Oh yeah.
And it's just taking a little bit from each person and bringing that into the whole. When you look at a project, when you look at you go to a home and you're going, wait, we're selling this? Time
No,
out. I
we're
don't
not.
want my name. Take our sign out of the front
Yeah.
yard. So, as good of contractors as we have, and we've made a couple changes over the years because
Oh, yeah.
guys wouldn't do it our way. And it's not, that sounds really pompous, but we have a
It's
standard.
the
that-
Inspired Development way.
yeah, we're just trying to do it because that's what we're selling. When we're talking to people in the street, when we're talking ourselves up about how excited we are at being able to do all these things, we are because we know what we can deliver. So we've now kind of connected with a couple different contractors that are now really starting to see it, and they're starting to think outside the box, and they know what we're looking for. They know that they're not going to show us that house without the wood being feathered in. They're not, that carpet seam is not going to be an issue. Paint touch-ups, those happen, and that's cool.
Yeah.
But
now we have the respect of the people we're working with that they don't take the initiative to make decisions that they think we should be involved in.
Right.
And I think that's what happens once you get comfortable with working with certain people for too long, they start taking that for granted, and plans change from what we initially did, and instead of reaching out to us and saying, hey, like this isn't going to work out, like what do you want to do, they would just finish it or fix it on what they think we would have done. And we're like, these are the conversations that need to happen. Like I respect the fact you're not trying to reach out for me about do I want a flush toilet or do I want a pull out toilet, but like for the important stuff that is like completely changing the design of a house, I think the new contractors understand that we want to have input on this. Like this tile or this tile. Like
Definitely.
we're working with people who understand that this is, I don't want to say it's our show, but it's our business, and they're working with us and for us. So
Yeah.
I think it's a different transition that we're seeing.
And we needed to establish that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an industry thing that you have to establish. When, you start doing these projects, we were doing them ourselves. So the reality is, whoever did them, that was fine. But now that we've gotten to a level of being a little bit bigger and taking on more projects, we have a kind of a standard that we want to abide by, and we want to carry on and show to the public. So it's just each one of our responsibilities to make sure that gets carried out.
For sure.
I mean, we have seen a lot of dumb things. We'll talk about them in a lot of future
Oh,
shows.
we will.
We'll have a show of all dumb. And I'm telling you, if we go through the projects that we've done, we can find several in each house. And but what shows at the end is a really great product. But in the middle
The
of
steps
it,
of getting there are not
Yes.
always fun.
I mean,
And working around it.
we
working
have
around the
literally
dump, fixing
gone
it.
berserk going, you can't leave it like that. And the part that is probably the really most upsetting is they're just okay with that. They're okay with the dinged and bent and bruised,
It's not okay.
Appliances. and
appliances.
stuff. Like, no, that's
Right.
not.
We've got an appliance
No,
that
it's
is.
not right.
question from Chris.
We got a question from the audience.
What is the most challenging part of your remodel you have experienced so far?
I think we each can have a different answer for that. Amy, what do you think is your most challenging part?
I'm salty, so I don't want to say what the first thing that came to mind.
Okay.
So the relationships that you have with these contractors, as you feel them start to deteriorate and they're in the middle of a project, it's hard to walk that fine line of what's okay conversation to have or when should I bite my tongue because this conversation isn't worth having. So I would say the most challenging part on my end is trying to be heard without being a D-bag. Because in this, the last parting ways that we've had, I just had someone that completely stopped responding to everything I said.
Right.
And sometimes all you're doing is trying to get an answer, you're trying to
Right.
help out, you're trying to, just know something. And
And they take it a different way. They
And
may
that-
take it like, you're adding fuel to the fire. And you're
Yes.
like, no, I'm just trying to get a simple answer, and that's it.
So
Well-
my challenge is, maintaining good relationships because when I get heated, and
Yeah.
trying to maintain that professional line of keeping relationships good enough to where they can finish projects out. Because having a
Good
different contractor picking up projects where somebody left off is always
tough.
That's
Yeah, that
brutal.
is hard.
Well, and I'm gonna just tie to that a bit. Being a female in a male-dominated industry is difficult in its own right. So, first of all, to earn the respect of the contractors has been a big obstacle for you, which you've overcome
Yep.
because we've gone out on these sites and explained that, listen, you don't always have to contact me. That's the person you can contact. And at the beginning of that was not believed. It was always, they would just circumvent you, come to me, and I'm going, why is this so hard to understand? And then it just kind of finally got to the point where I would stop responding, and we were forcing it, and I was forcing them to Amy.
Yeah.
So then Ryan comes along, and now again Ryan's seeing the contractors more, and now they're back to dealing with a male, and it was like, wait, it's happening again. So you're already at a disadvantage
For sure.
in that. So I think you've come a long way in
I think
that,
so, too.
in that process, and I think that especially now with the new teams that we've gotten.
Oh,
You're
they're
able
great.
to talk it a lot more. You're not as green as you once were out of the gate, and that's fine. It takes time.
Yeah.
But they have to learn that they can't talk circles around.
And I think the last contractor legitimately thought I was like a 20-year-old that was just like handed this job and like, oh, they just have this girl here that's gonna walk around.
Right.
And
Right.
when they found out, I was like, I'm 32. I've been doing this for a handful of years. Like, I know to an extent what I'm talking about. And like, I think when they actually learned that, like, oh crap, like she is in this, she is likes this, she is involved in this. This is part of her job. They were like, okay, so what she's saying actually is valid and should take.
And
my
we all
side
back
of it.
her.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
the thing is Ryan and I will stand behind it. Even if she's wrong, we're gonna back it, and then
I'm
we'll all
never
talk
wrong.
about it.
I'm just kidding.
Right. Ryan, what's been the most challenging part?
Thank you for the question
of
too,
things.
Chris.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate
that,
it.
bro. I think I'd say my challenging is trying to get these guys on time, and on time meaning on time on their
Timelines.
timelines, getting to the job. I mean, contractors start their day whenever they want to. I mean, I was so used to being just you got to be at the job at this certain time and you're done at this certain time and you got to go to the next one. Well, these guys may have different things. I understand contractors have a lot of other things going on too and stuff, but for me, yeah, I would say keeping the timelines in line, making sure they're actually getting them done in that time, and we've had a contractor like, yeah, I it's no problem. We'll put it in this timeline. That after 2 weeks, yeah, the bathroom should be done. Well, it's not even close to done, and what other things have been done in the meantime? That's where
Nothing.
and that's where my frustration comes in. I'm like, you gotta understand, you gotta follow this process and timeline. If you don't, what's the point?
And I think a lot of that has also been driven from that being a pet peeve of mine, and me asking you guys
And I was
how are
gonna
things going.
It
So
comes down on us when
Right,
when
right.
timelines aren't getting met.
yeah,
So
it
I mean
does.
it does, and I've kind of probably instilled that in you guys, which is it's good for the learning side of it. It's tough for the actual battling
Yeah, for
side,
sure.
but
It is, but they have to understand and realize that we're a team, they're a team, we're a team together. If we're hurting, they're hurting too. I mean, it's just got to be one of those kind of things that you got to work together, and it's not me versus you or us versus them. You know.
And I would say, Chris, the answer to that question for me would be to having contractors that are I don't know, competent in what they do from beginning to end. And I think what that means to me is there are a lot of people that say they know how to remodel. There's a lot of people that
you don't really need a license for it. You don't
Yeah,
need a degree
it's-
for it. You
but
need a license, not a
somebody
degree.
that's good at it. And I'll tell you, I will go back and take the old school guys that are, that have been doing this forever. Those old salty dogs, they get it. And their work ethic is something that is some that you don't see today. Ryan spoke of it. They get to the job at 7 a.m. and they're done at 3. They work. We're seeing the 11 o'clock, work for a couple hours, bounce to this project, go to get material. The organization is horrendous. And that for me is something, because again, I came from that older school where it was, you don't leave this until the day is done.
Right.
But I think as we evolve and go forward, that's something that we're going to kind of dictate as to the expectations.
Isn't it weird we all said contractors?
Right.
Yeah.
It is a big piece of the
It
puzzle.
is. It's a huge piece
It
of it.
is.
On the plus side, we didn't say each other, so
No.
at least
Yeah.
at least we're
Yeah.
growing in a somewhat right direction here.
That's a great question, and again, please, that's what we're here for. We're here for questions, any challenges and things that you guys may be experiencing. I mean, villages and towns and inspectors.
And I think one of the other parts about this is you have to be okay with change and evolving plans.
Yes.
And I think that's in the beginning of it. One of the parts that made me so frustrated about this, that I was like, okay, we have an idea. We're going to go into this house. We're going to do A, B, and C. We'll be out in 8 weeks.
Right.
But then sometimes you have to get inspectors in there that you
Right.
didn't know. And sometimes when you move, if you want to add a second bathroom, that's something else, or a third bathroom. And I think this is not a job to get involved with if you do not like change and if you cannot adapt. If you are a person who is hell-bent on stuff happening in an ABC way, do not try to go into rehabbing houses.
You can't have thin skin and do this.
No.
One of our Inspired Title team members, Christina, is a realtor. She works with Inspired Title, but she's also helping out on some building projects, and then she's also trying to do her own. And I think she's starting to see the headache and the hassle.
In the reality.
This is not for the faint at heart. I mean, you really need to have some kind of an understanding, some kind of a background from this to just jump in this thing and go, you know what, I can remodel a house. Maybe.
Good luck.
Maybe.
Yeah. To a point, you could. Yes.
There are,
Fine point.
as long as you don't have to get inspections, as long as you don't have to pull permits, as long as, that whole animal is just something that is ever changing. Now you've added the price of lumber. Then you add the cost of doing business.
The back order of all this stuff right now,
Yeah, where's the money come from? You go out and get a loan, and now try to sit on that loan because the house didn't sell. I mean, there are there are factors that we will talk about in future shows that we can help identify. Is it better to borrow money? Is it better to use your money?
It's better to be a millionaire.
How's this
Yeah.
right? How's this work? And truthfully, the answers that we give are going to be answers that have been effective and efficient to us. Okay, this doesn't mean they're all right. This doesn't mean that this is the only way. This does mean, though, that our experience is telling us this is how we should do it. And we've grown a lot from the experiences that we've had. We've grown a lot from the mistakes that have been made and the people that we've dealt with. I'll tell you a piece of the industry that is consistent is robbing Peter to pay Paul. That whole,
What does that mean, though? Because maybe some people don't know what that means.
it's coming. It's
Coming
coming.
on.
It's coming down the track. It just takes
Yep.
me a minute to build it because
Getting it,
it's
let's go.
I've been living it for so many years in
And
this
it's so
in this
screwed
business.
up.
It is.
It is so.
I don't know
It's
how-
the only job where people do this on like the daily.
Yeah. I don't know how, and I don't know how people can,
What is
can
this?
do that.
Everybody out there is saying,
Yeah.
"What is
So
this?"
here
They're
it
rattling the
comes.
cages.
So a contractor bids on your project, and he says it's going to cost $50,000 to remodel your home. That's great. So you pay him a deposit. That $50,000 is being used to pay the house he's finishing up. So now your house is short money already. So he's hoping to go out and get a bid on
Another
John
job.
and Sally's house so that he can get your house finished.
It
Well,
is-
guess what? What happens, and it always does, it has proven fact. It always happens.
Time and time.
What
and
happens
time.
when
There's no
that
more
contractor cannot get that next bid? Your house is moving along, but now he runs out of money. He hasn't found any bids. How does your project get finished? And in many cases, it
doesn't.
And now who suffers?
We do.
Yeah. The contractor runs off and you're stuck with the bill.
Right. So you have an unfinished house. The contractor's gone. What are we going to do? Sue him? Okay, that'll take some time. Yeah,
And
maybe you'll
some
get
money.
a. Maybe,
And-
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And still an unfinished
They're smart
place.
enough to know that. Well, they'll never pursue this because by the time it costs them more
More
to
money
pursue
than
it
they
than
would
it
get
is what
back.
they're owed. They know the system. It's jacked up. But it happens. So how do you protect yourself against this? We'll talk about that in future shows. There are ways
Please
to
tell
protect
me.
yourself on that.
I want to learn.
Thankfully, we've been burned by a couple investors that, I put money into that they went rogue. And so now what happens? We're going to be the proud owners of some of these properties. Okay, it's not the worst case scenario. Real estate will still,
Yeah, give us 8 years until
yeah.
Yeah,
it's
right.
ours.
But I think what's also important is
I'm
just
so
to know.
salty about that. Like, it
We,
makes
Yeah.
so
we
angry.
will absolutely go into this in great depth. We just wanted to really sit and just give you a little bit of a synopsis of what we're going to be talking about in future shows. If there's something that you guys want to hear,
Should we show off our?
absolutely do that. I think we have another listener with another question. What's the worst shortcut a first-time flipper can make?
Go on. What is that show? What is that show on HGTV?
It's a Flip Our Us or something.
It's like it's the one where the people just do the rehabs on their own.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like a
Yeah.
DIY thing.
Go watch
yeah.
that show.
You watch
Um,
that and
What's the worst shortcut a first-time flipper can make?
Painting your paneling.
Yeah.
Things like putting whipped cream
On
on
horse poop.
garbage.
yeah,
Okay?
lipstick on a pig.
Because you literally, it's still a pig.
Your grandpa says that.
Right?
Yeah,
it's
that's an old school
it's
term,
still
but
a
yeah.
pig. If you put
Big Al
lipstick-
says that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Shut
here's
up,
the
Big
reality.
Al.
It's still a pig. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of guys, and we've come across them. They will say newly remodeled, and you'll walk through this house and go, "What did you do? The cabinets are the same." They'll spray paint their cabinets.
No.
They'll paint the paneling.
No.
They'll wash the floors. The bathrooms still look the same, and they'll try to make a quick $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
we definitely do not put our name on. any of
No,
this
that's
stuff.
not what we do.
No. And you'll see bad patch jobs, and then they'll repaint
Yeah.
over it, and you'll see nice looking paint here, fresh, and this is 40 years old, and you're like, well, all right then. I guess these colors are way off.
But I think answering the listener's question is overpaying for the house. The worst mistake you can make is because you want to get in this is not doing your homework on the front side to know what the resale value is after you sell this. A lot of times people will buy the house and go, well, I'll just fix this and I'll just sell it. Well, you didn't do anything on the front side to determine what's that resale value.
Or closing on a property without title insurance.
Oh,
Shout out to Inspired Title for the fact that sometimes people will buy these houses
well said, Aim.
without looking into taxes, without looking at open mortgages. Oh, I'm getting this house for 10 grand. Game on. Yeah. Did you know that there's $80,000 of open taxes that you need to be able to take care of before you actually sell this house? Did you know that there's 3 mortgages on there from different people? Like, you could be hundreds of thousands of dollars in on a house you think you paid $20,000 before if you just close a deal with.
So
If you just close on a house without going through your neighborhood title company, Inspired Title.
example, we are looking to buy a house right now
We are.
and to do rehab. The house is being sold for $115,000.
Yes.
It has a tremendous amount of tax liability, probably to the tune of $40,000 or $45,000.
I thought it was around 45.
Right? So the seller said that they would provide it to us if we buy it for $115,000. They will take care of all the tax issues. Okay. And we figured our rehab costs were probably around that same number, $120,000. So now you're at $235,000. Well, the house sold probably $260,000. By the time you pay realtors and all the other
And you take your 12%
expenses and
out,
stuff,
it's
yeah,
like even worth
I
it.
mean, you're not making any money, right? So if I've gotten used to just doing those numbers in our head, and it's something that we're able to figure out. So instead of blowing this deal, I went back and said, okay, well, here's an option. Why don't you let us as Inspired Title take care of the taxes, and we'll offer you $40,000.
And Brittany can't wait to do that title.
Right.
I'm how excited she is.
And so we'll see what happens with that. But so there's creative ways to putting these deals together, and there's ways to buy these things.
It's a benefit of being a title company, development company, that you don't even.
Right.
It's like the amount of good it does is immeasurable because we are able to do those, run the back titles, and make sure that the property we are getting is clear from encumbrances, or if they are, what are open on them. So
I mean, we've gone through the crash of 2006 and 7
you did.
and seen
Old
the
school.
foreclosures and
Okay.
short sales and all of that crazy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then we came into this, crazy busy market. Interest rates are super low. The refinances were silly and nuts. To a pandemic when the lumber prices went through the roof and still are. And what's next? The reality is the real estate market is a roller coaster. The second reality is that it is still a very good investment over a period of time. So years that it wins versus years that it loses, it still averages a strong return. So
Yes.
real estate is still a good investment to have. It's just, do you have the ability to sustain these ups and downs? And
Right.
that's where it becomes, that's the ultimate question is, okay, if the market just goes totally south, am I okay sitting on this house until it comes back? And if
Because it
the answer
will
is
come
yeah,
back.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it will. I mean, it's what drives the economy. I mean, people buying and selling their homes and remodeling their homes and bettering the homes feeds so many other people. I mean, it feeds all these box stores, and it feeds the grocery stores, and it feeds the paint stores. Like everything is just, extrapolated out to something that is so much greater than just this one piece. So if this one piece, if it didn't drive as many things, then it could die on its own. But the fact that it really feeds so many other spokes, it really is important that it does well and it can sustain these ups and downs. But I do think that buying at the wrong time and having a whole bunch of money out there lent or borrowed for all these homes gets you killed.
Yeah.
And that's where some of these folks can't handle. So yeah, why don't we get ready to wrap this thing up, and we'll show some of our projects that are
Take
up
one,
and
pass it
coming.
down. Yeah.
These are all
keeping up with
projects
Sorry.
that we are building in the area that is. Wow, you did it again. These are homes that we are building in Deer.
Oh, wait, it's green. Wait,
That's right.
okay.
Yeah.
Back.
And we're here.
These are our model homes for a subdivision that we are building in Winfield, Indiana. Just a couple of the examples of what we're building. Mine is called the Wonder.
Mine's called The Wish.
And mine's called the Blue Rose.
Wow, how perfect these names are! But these are Inspired Development's
I feel like a kid in class presenting a project.
home project. It's like show and tell, right?
Hi, I'm in
They,
fourth
they
grade.
didn't
Here's
make it to
my-
their frames yet. They have frames, but they have not made it there yet.
Yeah, we'll have those
This was
fun-
my Fun Friday project last week, and I think they turned
I
out.
think
Yeah,
they're not
yeah,
beautiful.
those renderings,
Two.
we're so really proud of those renderings. So, Inspired Development, we are building in both Illinois and Indiana, licensed in both states to do, your rehab project, your building project, whatever it is that you need. You can definitely see us on our website, which is the IDG
Minus team.
hyphen team.com. So Inspired Development Group, IDG hyphen team.com. You can visit our Facebook page, right? Our Facebook page.
Yes,
is
Facebook, Instagram.
Instagram.
Yep.
We're going to be doing TikToks. I mean, I'm telling you, we are going to be absolutely
In your
already
face
just-
everywhere. You will be so sick of us
Yeah,
to go, I'm
absolutely.
sure.
So, what do you guys have to add as we close this up?
Thank you for joining us on our
Yeah.
first
Yes.
edition
thank you
of
guys.
the Inspired
The
Truth.
Inspired
Inspired
Truth.
The Inspired Truth.
Yes, the
There'll be
Inspired
plenty more to
Truth.
chat about.
Well,
Yes.
if there's something you guys want to learn about,
Yeah.
email us. We're definitely able to be connected at idg-team.com. You can email us your questions. Definitely subscribe to all of our social media, like us, et cetera, all of those wonderful things that you guys are so used to doing. Stay tuned for another show coming up next week where we'll kind of talk a little bit more about this project that we're closing on and show you some befores and afters.
Yeah.
And we'll have some more fun things to talk about and give you some more in-depth conversation about the building industry. Dame, why don't you take us out of here?
Okay,
I'm Drew.
and
Ryan.
I'm Amy, president of Inspired Development. And remember, with Inspired Development, it's the beginning of anything you want. Take care, guys. Have a
Bye,
great
Bye, guys.
weekend.
Have a great weekend.